On today's show, Locked On is coming out with a top 100 NBA player list. How many Cavs should be on the list, and how would I rank your Cleveland Cavaliers? We're going to talk about that on today's edition of Locked On Cavs.
You are Locked On Cavs, your daily Cleveland Cavaliers podcast.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? I'm Danny Cunningham, and you might know me from my time covering the Cleveland Cavaliers, places like my Substack, The Inside Shot, Cleveland Magazine, 92.3 The Fan, and a number of other stops along the way. I want to say thank you to you for making Locked On Cavs your first listen today and every day. You can find the show anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, or anywhere else. Make sure to drop us a 5-star rating, leave us a nice review, and of course, be a friend. Tell a friend about Locked On Cavs. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure a friend is subscribed as well. And if you're watching the show on YouTube as we get started here, do us a favor. Hit that thumbs up button for us. Click subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the latest Locked On Cavs content. A proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, every summer. A bunch of different outlets will rank the top 100 players in the NBA. Of course, this happens with the NFL typically every offseason as well. I don't know if it happens with Major League Baseball or not. Truthfully, I don't pay a ton of attention outside of the Cleveland Guardians to just how things look nationally in that sport with a lot of these with these ratings lists. So I don't know if they do it or not, but we're doing that this summer at Locked On. So a couple of weeks ago, we were tasked with putting together any candidates on the teams that we cover that we believe belong on a top 100 players in the NBA list. Of course, not every candidate that gets nominated is going to finish as a top 100 player. You are allowed to put up to 7 guys on your roster on that list. I did, and regardless of how good or bad or indifferent the Cavs are, I did feel as if just putting the top 7 players on there made sense, and I did put 7 players on there. I do not anticipate that there are going to be 7 selections from the Cavs, but I do want to talk through what my thinking process was, unveil those 7 guys, and really I am going to go 1 through 13 for the Cavs roster right now with guys that are on standard full-time NBA contracts, just where I would have them, and I do want to talk about how many guys I ultimately think will be in the top 100, but I started my rankings sort of as I believe everyone would at this point. And I think that this is an interesting conversation to be had with Donovan Mitchell at number 1, because I think a year from now, if the Cavs do what a lot of people, including myself and maybe you listening out there, if they do what we expect this year, and they go out and they have another great season, which I don't think that this needs to be the case for them to have another great regular season, just because I think they're going to win a lot of basketball games in what I don't view as a great Eastern Conference. I think the Cavs will once again win 55 plus games. But if they go out and have the postseason success that I think it is fair to expect from this organization, from this team where they are right now, at least at last check, I have not checked today, but at last check, they were the favorites to win the Eastern Conference on FanDuel. They are the second highest, or they have the second best odds to win the NBA title behind the Oklahoma City Thunder on FanDuel. And I don't know if they can do all of that with Donovan Mitchell as their best player. I think they can get to the finals with Donovan Mitchell as their best player. I don't know if they can win the finals with Donovan Mitchell as their best player, but this is about what you have already done, which is why I have Donovan Mitchell as the best player on the Cavs. When I submitted my list of the top 7 players, it was asked to do it in order, and I put Donovan Mitchell as number 1. I think that what he has done so far, the fact that he's coming off of a first-team All-NBA season, which was the best honor that he has gotten so far in his career, the fact that he has been named as a top 10 player in basketball in 2 of the last 3 seasons, based upon the fact that, as I said, he was first-team All-NBA this year. Last season, he did not qualify by the games played limit for an All-NBA team. And then the year before that was second-team All-NBA for the first time in his career. So while he's been in Cleveland, he's been a top 10 player in 2 of the past 3 seasons. I think overall, when you look at the complete body of work from just a regular season standpoint, and I know that is not the thing that matters most at this point in Donovan's career, and at this point with where the Cavs are at in terms of the team trajectory, I understand the regular season stuff is not what matters most. But if you look at the regular season stuff, he is, in my opinion, a surefire top 10, excuse me. Obviously, he's a top 100 player. But he is a surefire top 10 player in basketball for me. I've not done my voting, and I will be voting on this for the complete top 100 all across the league. That's going to be a project in which I will certainly share that with you guys as I go through it, but I've not done it quite yet. But I do look at Donovan and say, this is a guy that should be in the top 10 in the NBA. There are guys that I will certainly go to bat for Donovan over as far as top 100 players goes. Some of those guys might have more postseason success, but I think the full body of work so far, when you look at Jalen Brunson's going to be in that same conversation. I know that Jalen Brunson has beat Donovan Mitchell in the postseason twice, once here and once when he was back in Utah in that final season before the Cavs traded for him. But I think Donovan Mitchell is a better basketball player than Jalen Brunson is right now. I will, without question, be voting Donovan Mitchell ahead of Jalen Brunson. I think the ceiling is higher for somebody like Anthony Edwards, but I think right now, Donovan Mitchell, as of the last couple of years, is a better basketball player still than Anthony Edwards. I think that is probably going to change because I think the ceiling for Anthony Edwards is super high. But as of right now, Donovan Mitchell is going to be, for me, voted higher than those guys. And I don't know that everybody's going to share that opinion, but that's where I'm at with this. And the reason why I started this whole conversation speaking about what things might look like should we do this list again next year is for the Cavs to get to where they want to go. The number 2 guy needs to become the number 1 guy. And the number 2 guy that I have is Evan Mobley. I have him ahead of Darius Garland, who's number 3, but have him behind Donovan Mitchell. And Evan, of course, made second team All-NBA, was the defensive player of the year last year, just had a fantastic season. And he will, I'm very confident in saying, be named a top 100 player by Locked On. I don't know where exactly he's going to fall in this top 100 list. And I think that is a very interesting thing to see. But I look at what he has done, and this is, for me, the way I'm voting is about what have you done, not what will you be. So there was not, in my line of thinking, there was no discussion, there was no thought process for me about maybe putting Evan ahead of Donovan. Now, a year from now, that could change. A year from now, we could be having a different conversation. And I think if we are doing that, then things probably went pretty well for the Cleveland Cavaliers this year. They probably reached at least most of their goals, even if they don't win the title. I do think it's possible that we're having this discussion. Of course, this is all centered on health, and this is something that is very important for 2 guys that at the end of the previous seasons have not necessarily always been healthy, which is something that is just very important to keep in mind as we go through this. But I'm very curious where Evan's going to be in this top 100 list. I think it would be very surprising should he not be in the top 25. My guess is that Evan is probably going to fall somewhere between 17 and 22. I will probably vote him higher than that because if I look at you and think, okay, you were just second team All-NBA, and I understand that there are guys that didn't qualify because of games played, like Luka Doncic is going to be higher than Evan Mobley on this list. And he was not All-NBA last year because he didn't play enough games. And Victor Wembanyama will probably be higher than Evan Mobley on this list. I don't know that I will vote that way, but Victor will probably be higher than Evan on this list. And he was not All-NBA last year because he did not reach the minimum number of games that you need to play in order to qualify. So I look at that and think, okay, well, some of those guys are probably going to be ahead of Evan. But I still think that if you are second team All-NBA, if you are defensive player of the year, if you are the force on both ends of the floor that Evan Mobley has become at this point in his career, well, I just think, okay, that means he's got to be a top 15 player in basketball. And that's probably around where I will vote for him, considering some of the other guys like a Luka Doncic again, who I think Luka's done enough, even though he wasn't All-NBA last year. He's done enough for me to put him in the top 5 NBA players list. But I look at that and say, okay, there's probably a couple guys like that bump Evan down a slot 2, 3, maybe even 4. But I think for him, he is right now a surefire top 20 player. And I think that by the end of this season, the conversation should be shifting to, well, is Evan Mobley a top 10 player in basketball? If he repeats what he does defensively, what he has done basically every year of his career defensively, and takes another step on the offensive end of the floor, which I think is a very possible thing for Evan Mobley to do, well, then I think we are looking at somebody that could be a top 10 player, that could be receiving more MVP votes. Of course, you got one this year and finished tied for 10th in the MVP race, but that matters a lot when you come into this conversation. I don't think you can have somebody that was in the MVP, I don't want to say in the MVP race last year, because he was never going to win that award. But somebody, and I don't know who it was, I don't remember, but somebody thought this guy deserved a 5th place MVP vote. This guy had one of the 5 best seasons in all of basketball. If you say that about somebody, I don't know how they can be anything other than a top 20 player in the sport. That's where I think Evan is. I think Donovan is a top 10 player. That's obviously a big reason why the Cavs are in a very, very good spot. But those are not the only 2 guys, of course, that I nominated for top 100 players in the NBA for the Locked On Top 100 that's going to be coming out later this summer. We will talk about a couple of the other ones that I did put in my top 7 for the Cavs, and we will also break down the rest of the roster next right here on Locked On Cavs. Today's show brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. It's time to fuel up and turn it up with 5 Hour Energy Transfusion. It brings the bold grape, ginger, and lime flavor of your favorite golf drink, minus the alcohol, into a quick energizing shot. Whether you're sinking birdies or just making memories with friends, this one's a hole-in-one for your energy game. Let's be honest, some days on the course, and I went through this last weekend, man. I was on a golf trip, played 72 holes in 3 days. That last 18 holes was tough. I really could have used a 5 Hour Energy. Probably would have played better if I had a 5 Hour Energy that day, but maybe you just need that extra boost like I did to stay sharp and energized, because golf out, especially with how hot it's been lately too. Like I played this weekend and it's just blistering hot, man. Sometimes you need that pick me up, and 5 Hour Energy is right there for you, because golf is all about good times with good people, plus good flavors. Of course, the grape ginger lime flavor gives you the best parts of your clubhouse go-to without chasing down the bev cart. If you go to 5hourenergy.com today, that is the number 5hourenergy.com, you can use this promo code Locked On Golf, that is LOCKEDONGOLF, to receive 20% off your order. This offer only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders. Whether you're meeting up with friends or trying to turn 18 holes into 36, which is one of my favorite things to do, get the energizing boost you need to power through. Order the transfusion flavored 5 Hour Energy shots today. Thank you again for making Locked On Cavs your first listen today and every day. Like I said earlier, you can find the show anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, or anywhere else. Make sure to drop us a 5-star rating. Leave us a nice review. And, of course, be a friend. Tell a friend about Locked On Cavs. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure a friend is subscribed as well. And as far as the top 100 goes, I've already said where I think Evan Mobley belongs. I've already said where I believe that Donovan Mitchell belongs. I had Darius Garland, my number 3 Cleveland Cavalier. I don't think that is a very controversial pick. I think most people listening or watching this show would have Darius Garland as the number 3 member of the Cleveland Cavaliers. Garland, of course, is coming off of an all-star season. I thought he had a rough second half of the season. And of course, his postseason was clouded by injuries, or overshadowed by injuries with that toe injury. Garland has really rebounded nicely, though, from what was just a disastrous season. Think of what the conversation about Darius was a year ago, where a lot of people in this fan base, I think, wanted to trade him, despite the fact that he was coming off of essentially his worst season since he was a rookie, with the jaw injury and some of the other things that he dealt with that year. He rebounded really nicely this year, and I expect him to be, when he is healthy, and I don't know that it's fair to expect Darius Garland, to be back right away. Like on opening night, I would be, at this point, I just think I would be surprised if Darius is in the starting lineup on opening night, given the timeline that the Cavs gave to us when he did undergo surgery a couple of months ago. So that is the first thing. But I also, I don't know that being an all-star should be a goal for Darius Garland this year, because of the time that he's probably going to miss at the start of the season, because of the injury that he dealt with. I think that the goal for him should just be to be playing your best basketball in April, May, and June. I don't know that there is a reward-based goal, or, a merit-based goal, I guess, as far as awards go. But I think that if he's playing his best basketball at the end of the season, the Cavs are going to feel a lot better about their chances in the postseason than if he has the year he had last year, where he was awesome in the start. And then if you think back to that New York Knicks game, it was the second game back after the All-Star break. The Cavs played in Brooklyn on Thursday, I believe it was February 20th, and then February 21st, they played at home against the Knicks. Darius Garland, he hit his head pretty hard, but had I believe, a different injury he was listed with. I'm not positive exactly what it was. And from that point on, Darius was just not the same exact player. And then he did have a nice series against Miami Heat. I don't want to, dive too far into that just because that Miami Heat team was so bad as far as a postseason team goes. But I think that if he looks like the guy that he was in the first half of the season for the Cavs, in the second half of the season, then I think things feel pretty differently. So I think that the top three that I put together is going to be pretty consensus. And I do think all three of those guys will be top 100 players in the NBA this year on the Locked On Top 100 voting. I don't think I broke any barriers there. I don't think anybody's surprised by anything that I've said so far on this podcast. Now is where I think we get to the surprise. And while I think Darius is probably in his own tier as far as this goes, like I think Donovan is in a tier with Evan. And then I think Darius is in a tier by himself, where I would expect him to be somewhere between like 30 and 45, maybe between 30 and 50. As far as top 100 players go, I find it very interesting what the rest of this list is going to look like, because my thinking for the next grouping, I've got three guys in the next tier. I've got DeAndre Hunter, I've got Jarrett Allen, and I've got Max Strus. And I really struggled with how to order these guys. And I know that Jarrett, had a case to be an all-star last year. I don't think that he should have been an all-star. I think he was close, but I don't think he should have been. And he's been a very, very good player for the Cavs. And he's been consistent, and he shows up, and he does his job, and he's good on both ends of the floor. But I ended up putting him fifth. I ended up putting DeAndre Hunter ahead of Jarrett Allen, because I think that what DeAndre can bring in terms of versatility on both ends of the floor, what he can do offensively and defensively. And I just think the fact that, you can make the case that the Cavs are better when somebody else is playing center other than Jarrett Allen, because you can say that about Evan Mobley. And I've said that a lot of times on this podcast over the past 13 months that I've been doing it. I don't think you can make the case that the Cavs are just better when somebody else is playing small forward than DeAndre Hunter. And I understand the irony in saying that, because DeAndre Hunter didn't start for the Cavs last year because Max Strus, who I had at number 6, did. But I look at this and say, I just think that with a full training camp, with more comfortability in Cleveland, and maybe a little bit of a different role, DeAndre is going to take off this year. And I know that this is a list that's about what you've done, not what you are. And I think DeAndre Hunter's done some really good things. Like, I think he's been a very, very good player. And the fact that he was a candidate to be 6th man of the year last year is something that I do think, will put him on this top 100 list. I would be very surprised if both of these guys really are not on the top 100 list. I think both DeAndre Hunter and Jarrett Allen belong as top 100 players. And I think the cutoff might be after them. Like, I don't know if the Cavs are going to get 6, but I'd be very interested to see whether or not they do. But I had DeAndre Hunter at number 4 because of the impact that I think he brings on both ends, because of the fact that he can do I think he's a more versatile player than Jarrett Allen. And ultimately, when we look at this, part of it is, to me, and I know that he got hurt, so he wasn't necessarily as effective. I think DeAndre Hunter is a 16-game player, and I think Jarrett Allen is an 82-game player. And if it's close, when I'm going through this internal dialogue here, if it's close, if one of them is a 16-game player and one of them is an 82-game player, no matter how good they are in those 82 games, the tie for me is going to go to the guy that I think is a better postseason performer. And I think DeAndre Hunter is that. I think DeAndre Hunter, of those two guys, if you had to pick having one of them to be in your playoff rotation, I think DeAndre Hunter is the guy you would rather have in the postseason. So that's why ultimately I put him ahead of Jarrett Allen. And this is not to shade Allen. I think he's a top 100 player. I think he'll probably be somewhere between 65 and 85. If I had to guess, he's a very good player. Maybe even higher than that. I haven't gone through it. Like maybe he could be higher than that. This will be a very interesting, thought exercise for me when I sit down and do this. But I think I'm going to have DeAndre Hunter a little bit higher. After that, I did have Max Strus at number 6. I think that he's a great connector. I think he's a very, very good basketball player. I don't know that he does a lot of the stuff that you're going to look at and say, yeah, that guy is, a top 75 player in the league right now. I do think that he's a little undervalued nationally because he's not going to have eye-popping stats, but I think the Cavs are a better team because they have Max Strus on it, even if I don't know that he should be the starting small forward, because obviously if I have DeAndre Hunter number 4, I feel as if I should probably say he should be the starter. But I think that Max Strus does a lot of really good things that good teams need. Those guys can be difficult to find, and the Cavs are in a better place because they have a guy that does that. Now, I had one more guy on the Cavs in my nominees for top 100. We'll talk about him. Plus, we will go through how else I would rank the Cavs. That's straight ahead right here on Locked On Cavs. Today's episode is brought to you by Epicor. Every team knows the value of hard work, of taking pride in what you build and practicing every detail to get the best results. But no one player, no matter how amazing, can do it all alone. Working together makes getting the win easier. And at Epicor, the all-stars are the hardworking manufacturers and distributors who create and deliver the things that we all need, from aerospace to electrical to medical devices. Epicor ERP solutions are created by industry experts to help make every day easier. Seeing your whole supply chain is easier. Managing logistics is easier. Responding to price changes is easier. From small businesses with big dreams to growing enterprises with global visions, Epicor will equip you with the right tools to move forward, think ahead, and lead the way. Because as the clock ticks down, you need to make the most out of every hardworking minute. Easier doesn't cut corners. Easier takes the lead. Discover your success at easierwithepicor.com. That is easierwithepicor.com. Thank you again for making Locked On Cavs your first listen today and every day. If you're watching on YouTube, do us a favor. Hit that thumbs up button as we get started here. Click subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss the latest Locked On Cavs content. I had Sam Merrill as the number 7 player on the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, I don't think that he's going to be in the top 100. I would be mildly surprised if he were, but I think that he is the 7th best player on the Cavs, and I think that he is going to be in maybe a little bit of a bigger role this year. I think that he's going to be somebody that does take a step forward, and of course, there's more responsibility on his plate because when you get paid the way that Sam got paid this offseason, you're going to have more things that you have to handle. He's no longer just a gadget offensive player, and I don't think that he was a gadget offensive player last year when he was with Kenny Atkinson. I think that was more so under JB Bickerstaff, and I think that Sam's development has been really, really cool to watch as we have, just watch his NBA career really go along. So I had him kind of in like a sub tier of the tier ahead. I don't think he's on the same level as Max and Jarrett and DeAndre. And by the way, congratulations to Jarrett Allen because he got married this weekend. I'm sure most of you saw the video of him doing the High School Musical dance, and Dean Wade was in the wedding and doing the dance also, and that was great theater to watch. But I had those guys sort of in their own tier with Sam just like a slight notch below it. So those are my top 7. Those are the ones that I nominated to be put in the Locked On NBA Top 100. I'm going to guess that the Cavs get 5 or 6. I could see maybe Max Strus being in it, but I would be very surprised if Donovan and Evan and Darius, DeAndre and Jarrett are not in the top 100. I think all of those guys are top 100 players. I think Max will be very close. I think he will certainly get votes, but I would be surprised if Sam got it. Now, how does the rest of the roster look? I put number 8, Lonzo Ball, and Lonzo is, as I mentioned, and you have to mention every time you talk about him, it's if Lonzo Ball is healthy, right? We've said that so many times, not just about him, but about this Cavs season. I think if he is healthy, he is a top 100 player. But I could not in good conscience vote a guy that has played 70 games in the last 4 years. I could not say this guy belongs in the top 100 players list, especially somebody that's not a star caliber player. I had Larry Nance Jr. 9th on the Cavs roster. I went Dean Wade 10th. And for Dean, I do think this year's a very important one for him. Obviously, he is going to be a free agent 1 year from now, unless the Cavs extend his contract, which I don't know is going to be on the table. But I look at it and I think unless Dean Wade is going to become more aggressive offensively, I don't know that he's serving his entire purpose. Like, I just don't know that he is maximizing who he can be unless he starts to shoot the basketball more. And if he does do that, I think there's a world in which we're talking about Dean Wade as a top 100 player next year. But that's kind of the thing that I look at and say, I'm going to need to see this one to believe it. That's just where I think things are at with Dean Wade. I went with Jalen Tyson next on the Cavs, which would put him at number 10, number 11. And then I went Craig Porter Jr. at number 12 and Tyrese Proctor because Tyrese has not played in NBA minutes. So, of course, he is automatically at the bottom of the list. Just I would have Naquan Tomlin even ahead of him because Naquan Tomlin has played NBA minutes. But, of course, we're not going to have somebody on a two-way that's not on a standard NBA contract as part of this discussion. So that is how I ranked the Cavs roster as of today. All 13 guys that are on standard NBA deals. That is what I ranked them as. Now, quick note about the show too. Locked On all the NBA shows. So Locked On Cavs, Locked On whatever show you want to make your second listen. Maybe it's Locked On NBA Game Night, which I hosted on Sunday night. We are all, with the exception of the national show, we are all going to be not 5 days a week for the next 6 weeks. Now, I will most likely be putting out 4 episodes every week still, but we are in the off season now. So if you're not getting it every single day, that is why. Sometimes you just need to refresh just a little bit. And that's what this time is going to be for me. So I might not have an episode all 5 days a week, but I will be striving to provide at least 4 episodes every week. If not, there will be at least 3 episodes a week, no doubt about it. So you can still count on Locked On Cavs being a frequent listen for you, even if it's not quite every single day for the next 6 weeks, the way that it is every single day for the other 10 and a half months of the year. But thank you for making today's edition your first listen. I would love to know where you think that all the Cavs should be in the top 100 list. So you can always send me those on social via email at locavsmailbag@gmail.com or in the YouTube comments. But thank you for making this your first listen. Thank you for making it your listen every day. You can find it anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, or anywhere else. Make sure to drop us a 5-star rating, leave us a nice review, and of course, be a friend. Tell a friend about Locked On Cavs. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure a friend is subscribed as well. And if you're watching the show on YouTube as we get out of here, do us a favor. Hit that thumbs up button for us, click subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the latest Locked On Cavs content. I'll be back tomorrow talking more about the Cleveland Cavaliers.